Hello, Americans, and other friends and subscribers around the world. Back here, man. So this morning, I thought we'd go over, some, what is the best, and I've done this video, I've talked about this before a few times on my channel, but in these times that we're headed into, I thought it would be a good time to refresh everybody's memory about it. And that would be the best, as far as, this is my opinion, man. This is old hillbilly's opinion, but the best firearm on your, whether you're, man, making a trek out, if the world goes to crap and you're trekking out to trade some stuff or whatever. Sure, you can get all in your fatigues and your ARs and your, look all Billy badass, and people are gonna look at you and think, dude, this dude's probably, this guy's probably trouble. Or you can practice and be really good with a 22. Now, if I'm packing this thing along, you're not going to think much of, loaded, I'm sure. You're not going to think much of an old hillbilly carrying a 22. Yeah, it might not have the kick, or the knockdown power, or the, one bullet, man, friggin', old Caroline 44 mag, man, boom, as long as you hit your target. But that old 22, man, I could put a can out there, I don't know, 60, 70, 80, I'm counting them off, man, to 100 yards, a pop can, soda can, and I can hit that every time. And that's not, that's just pulling it up, man, aiming and shooting. That's, man, I can, every time. And that's, lots of practice, which to get good with a 22 doesn't cost you much at all. Costs you a lot more these days than it used to. So my opinion, there's lots of opinions out there, but my opinion, not to say that the creek bottom, man, that you got the big fancy guns and all the, all that for protection, but, if I'm out there, man, I'm just roaming down the road, looking for something to eat or whatever, man, a little 22, for one thing, they're quiet. And for another, man, I can pop off grouse, squirrels, you can take a deer, I don't care what anybody says, man. I ain't saying I did it, but a 22 in the head will take down a deer. So, man, even a heart shot, anything. And if you put enough 22s in anything, it's, whatever you're hitting with all them 22 shells is going to have a bad day. So, that being said, man, that's, a 22 is definitely one of my ones. My go-tos, if you only, if you were going to go out and buy a gun. Now, if you're going out to buy a gun for food and all that, cheap ammo, all that kind of stuff, I would definitely go with a 22 rifle. Man, I just traded a, what was it, a 1022, can't remember which one it was, but a 1022 for a 22 pistol 6-shooter. I traded, man, here, I don't know, about 8 months ago, 9 months ago. So, not to say I don't have another 22 rifle, but this old pump, man, this is 1800s, I think is the patent on this, man. 1911. So 1911, man, it's an old pump 22. It's worth a pretty penny, but this is my, of all my guns, and I have a couple, this is my my number one favorite And other than this other one, I'm broke or split between two. You know, and the 22, and then we'll show this real fast. And then this one, man, I don't know if you remember me getting this. I've only had this one a couple years too. This is just a single shot 12 gauge. And this one, let's turn the center. I think this one was 1800. No, this is an old Ivor Johnson's. And I know this thing had a date on it. Of course, the battery went dead while I was just talking away. But anyway, it's a 12 gauge Ivor Johnson. I know there's a date on it, but I can't find it. So let's talk about 22s and just had an epiphany. I thought it was on the bottom. Oh, I think I might have looked up the date by the. Dang, it's sticky, man. These cottonwoods are getting ready to do their thing. So, a 12 gauge and a 22. Those are my two go-tos. I don't care. I'm not saying I don't have other guns and all that, but for 90% of the stuff, venturing out, anytime that I leave, you know, of course I've got the handguns and stuff like that. You know, I got Caroline, my old 44 mag. You know, I'm not going to say it's nobody's business what all I got. But the two, if I had to choose, if I had to walk away from this place with one rifle, or one gun, if I had to pick, woo, that would be, between these two, because it's a single shot, I would probably take the 22. 22 pump is this right here is my most favorite gun that I have, and it's the funnest to shoot, man. It is, you know, it's 22 pump, man. It is amazing and accurate as all get up. Now, the 12 gauge is what, you know, and I've talked about this before, man, and they have, you know, in their facts or their studies or whatever, they have said that a 12 gauge or a 20 gauge for a woman is the best gun or home protection gun that you can have, because in their research, and I don't know exactly how they researched it, but in their research, a woman, she'll pull the trigger, but she'll probably only pull it once. So if you're going to pull the trigger once at a bad guy, a 12 gauge or a 20 gauge would probably do the job. So that would be my number one. That's anytime that I'm not, well, anytime, there is always a 12 gauge here for Miss Kitty if I'm not here with her. Always. Always, always, always. Now, up the mountain, I've been carrying, you know, grouse hunting, I've been carrying that old 20 gauge. And then I'll use the 22, you know, for grouse too. Sometimes I'll just take it. And they're amazing. The other reason that I say a 12 gauge or a 20 gauge, and I've talked about this in previous videos, is I actually did it not too long ago. Oh, no, I was looking for something else. Anyway, I was looking for a big lighter that time. But, so that's another thing that you can put on the list of your SHTF, shit hits the fan. That you can, big lighters is in the thing of 22 shells and 12 gauge shells. Nowadays, man, maybe even 9mm, because 9mm is getting up there. But you can go out in vehicles that have been sitting out in a field for 20 years, 30 years. And if you dig around in that, look under the seats, and it's some old abandoned thing, the odds are that you'll probably find a 22 shell or a 12 gauge shell. Man, the odds are, I mean, I don't know how many coffee cans full of 22 shells and 12 gauge shells, you know. Of course, you come up down there every once in a while, you find an odd 6 shell, you know, and you find 45, or, you know, you'll find some oddball ones, but for the majority in them abandoned vehicles, you'll always find a 12 gauge and a 22. So my two picks for the number one well, I guess can't I pick two. But I would say my number one pick, if I had to, dude, it's difficult for me, man. It's difficult. These two, both of these, man, these are my two favorite rifles. I would have to go, if it was these two right here, you know, a single shot, 12 gauge, or the 22 pump, I'd have to go 22 pump because I can, you know, have more rounds in there. And then if I did have to take a bad guy out at a distance, I can do it with that where you have to be up close and personal. But for Miss Kitty, I would have the 12 gauge with her at all times. So that's my take on it, man. You can argue it all you want. It really don't matter to this old hillbilly because, you know, that's the cheapest, and I'm a poor boy, man. You know, that's the cheapest, easiest way to go, and that 22, man, that's accurate. And then when I was going through, you know, I'm kind of watching some stuff this morning, you know, when the shit hits the fan and all that, you know, just watching some people and stuff that I hadn't heard, and got into some older videos, and something that I hadn't heard, I don't know, man, dude, 5 years, 10 years, that I haven't heard a long time is the WROL, you know, so be it, without rule of law. You know, man, I remember when, you know, the shit hits the fan and preppers, and, you know, before preppers, you know, it was just survivalists, and, you know, there's all these different groups and all this stuff that goes, but that, without rule of law, dude, that was about the same time that Shit Hits the Fan came out. And I hadn't heard that for a whole, you know, for quite some time, and I was looking through some videos, you know, and some of them were recorded in 5 and 10 years, 5 or 10 years ago, and I was like, holy crap, that's a word from the past. You know, I don't, you know, whatever I am, man. Survivalist, prepper, whatever you want to call me, man. I'm just an old hillbilly that tries, you know, I've prepared my whole life because, like I said, you poor boy, man, I make sure that I always got beans and rice and, you know, foods and ammo, man, ammunition, 22, so I can go out here and shoot a quail, or, you know, it's always being just prepared, you know. You want to call me a prepper, you want to call me a survivalist, you want to call me a tin frickin' hat wearing fool, whatever you want to call me. It's all good, dude, it's all good. All I can say is in this world, the where we're headed, and like I said a couple videos ago, the next 7 or 8 months, I think you're really going to see it with everything that's going on. You know, we're in World War III. I don't care what they say, man. We're in it already. You know, the whole dang world's fighting. We're just throwing our 2 cents in here and there. You know, getting a little bit of smoke over there with the fire. That's because you're purdy. That's all I got for you today, man. That's my take on it. So I would go with the 22 pump. Always. Not backing up at the 12 gauge. Good Lord willing. And them creeks don't rise. We'll be back again tomorrow. See ya.